OLN's coverage of professional rodeo continues as we put the spotlight on the timed event cowboys. The mark of a good ranch cowboy has always been his ability with the rope. And at the PRCA level, it's more like an art form.
Well, it really is, but you know, these events here, this is used in everyday ranch work, but guys like Trevor Brazil, Cash Myers winning $250,000 a year, that's big time sports.
The Lazy E Arena in Guthrie, Oklahoma, located about 25 minutes north of Oklahoma City and home to the Wrangler Timed Event World Championships. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Metters, with me world champion bull rider Cody Snyder. Cody, this is a pretty unique event. You have 20 of the best timed event cowboys in the world, 5 grueling events, and if you look at it on paper, the favorite has got to be Trevor Brazil.
Well, that's right. Trevor's the reigning PRCA World All-Around Champion. He's a past champion of this event. Now, he's coming in here with a pretty serious leg injury, but this guy is a great athlete. There's $50,000 on the line for the champion here. He's going to be laying it all out, and he's going to be trying to win this thing.
There is so much at stake here. Also working with us here in Guthrie, Oklahoma is Jennifer Smith.
This is the man with the #1 back number. Daniel, talk about what it's like for you to win this event last year.
It was awesome, a dream come true. It's the greatest cowboy event there is, and to come here over 25 head, over a long score, a lot of things can happen.
Do you feel any pressure coming in this year, or have you just been enjoying it?
Well, a little bit of both. You know, it's nice, I've won it, I know how to win it, and it's the hardest thing to defend. Nobody's ever won it twice in a row, so this might be the hardest thing in sports to defend, but you know, it'll happen one of these days, so I just want to be the guy.
Well, Daniel's going to repeat this year. He's got to make up some ground. Some guys are going to have to make some mistakes. He's 7th. Trevor Brazil, #1, but right on his boot heels, Casey Jones, and it is set up for a photo finish here at the Wrangler Timed Event Championships, and there is Trevor, the reigning all-around world champion, and Casey Jones, the guy that's trying to unseat him here in Guthrie. More from the Timed Event Championships in just a moment. OLN's presentation of the Wrangler Timed Event Championship is brought to you by Coors Original, Cowboy Up with Coors Original and Coors Light. By Justin Boots, standard of the West since 1879. By Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. Nobody makes whiskey like Jack Daniel's. And by Wrangler, for the cowboy in you, the only jeans and shirts endorsed by the PRCA. 5 events here, 4 of them involve a rope, only steer wrestling does not. We start off in heading, and Kyle Lockett is the guy in the spotlight.
Well, he is. This is a 5 times national finals qualifier, and he gets a good loop stuck on him here, and boy, pick up 2 heels, and great time and a good way to start it off.
5-1, and most of the time Kyle's making his living on the other side of the box as a healer. His total average time, 5:83.8. Everything will be in total seconds over 5 rounds, and of course, the less time you need, that's how you win this thing. Now to Jim Locke, lives in Miami, Texas. Made his first Wrangler National Finals rodeo a year ago in tie-down roping.
Here they go, got to get that head loop on him. Oh, and sling it out there, and it's a miss. Now you can throw 3 loops, so these guys got another chance at it, and want to get as many of these down, and another missed again there, and that's 60 seconds. There's no time. There's not anything such as a no time. You just get a 60-second total time for a no time.
And of course, when they add a minute to your total time, that's just an absolute killer. Took that second shot kind of quick just before the end of the arena, so a minute is what he winds up with, and his total time there, 361.2. Now to Daniel Green, Oakdale, California. He talked with Jennifer, the defending champion here. Somewhat behind Trevor Brazil, though, heading into this last round.
He's a 9 times qualifier for the Wrangler National Finals, so this guy knows how to get it done, and they pick up behind leg. You miss a leg there, that's a 5-second penalty, and that's not going to help him in this situation. You can see, here comes in, just misses getting it on that inside leg there, and that hurts.
So when it's all said and done and the penalties added in there, 11 seconds flat is the time for the defending champion, Daniel Green. Casey Branquino now lives out in California. His biggest claim to fame, the National High School Association all-around champion a few years ago.
Well, he's a former California circuit champion in the tie-down roping, and Healer, another one, picks up behind leg. Now you got to get both of those ropes stretched out tight before the flag man rides in there and drops a flag. 333.2 total now.
13.5 on that run. And there's the legend, Guy Allen. This guy has won 16 world championships, all in tie-down steer roping, and of course, the 16th tied the record held by Jim Shoulders for total number of PRCA world championships.
Oh, this guy owns the record and everything in the steer roping, and they make just an excellent run right here. Had a calf or a steer that Trevor Brazil had roped in 7 and 4 before, so they had a good steer and they got the job done here.
Well, Guy's kind of well back, but he's been awfully good in this part of the competition in the heading. 5-9 on that run as Chance Kelton gets set in the box now, lives out in Mayer, Arizona. 3 times he's qualified for the Wrangler National Finals, but he didn't make it the last 2 years.
Got a good steer here. They've been 5-9 and 6-9 on this steer, so boy, and another just an excellent run, 6 and 7. Boy, they got to like that.
Kelton is a header. That's how he makes most of his money. His total time there, you see, 3:49.6. Somewhat behind Trevor Brazil, who's coming up a little bit later on, and there's Kyle Hughes.
He's a 2000 PRCA tie-down roping Rookie of the Year and also the all-around Rookie of the Year. So this guy hasn't qualified for the national finals yet, but he's looking forward to getting there. And slow running steer turns him back here. Healer rides in there and picks up 2 legs in an excellent run. You see a little while getting those ropes tight before that flag man rides in there and drops the flag, and that hurts their time a little bit.
Solid roping. Hughes just kind of conservative there, 9.8 the time. He's right at 300.4 seconds, and now to Jimmy Cooper, lives out in Monument, New Mexico. This guy's got a world championship to his credit.
He's an 81 all-around champion of the world, and boy, what a good guy. I traveled with Jimmy Cooper and I was 16 years old back in the early 80s, and I was a kid, and guy helped me get up and down the road a little bit. Really nice guy and a great cowboy and a great roper, and sticks a good one on this one here.
Boy, he's a good roper. 7.9, the worst run he's had over 5 rounds in the heading has been 10.9, so everything else has been right around 7, 7.6, 7.5. And now to Herbert Theriault, of course, probably better known for his calf roping. Past world champion there as well, won in 1994. Pretty good steer wrestler too. This whole event has to fit him pretty well.
Well, it sure does, and he's just a great cowboy out of Mississippi, and a slow running steer does a good job to get him caught, and they twist him back, and boy, that's a good run there.
8.6, you gotta love Herbert. He's from the South, kind of slow talking but fast roping. I think that's the best way to describe him. And Herbert's been right in the thick of things really from the beginning. There's Casey Jones. Earlier he talked with Jennifer.
Casey has won this 4 times before. You're only 6 points behind right now. You know as well as anybody that's like nothing.
Yeah, you know, anything can happen. You just have to make the best run every time you nod your head and see how it turns out in the end.
Consistency is obviously the key.
Oh, on 25 head, it's real important.
You know, I don't know if this guy gets enough credit. He's really a good cowboy. He just has 7 kids, so he spends a lot of time at home. Rodeos when he can, and when he does rodeo, he makes the most of it.
Well, he's the guy that needs to win the first place prize here. He's got 7 kids at home, but he's a great cowboy. Didn't have the best steer in the draw here. They took a 60-second no time on him twice, but they're also 8 flat and a 6-3 on him, so he did a good job of getting him down, and he's staying right in there.
And you can expect Casey Jones really and Trevor Brazil to be pretty conservative. You don't want to make a mistake. You wind up with no time, which is 60 seconds. That is a killer at this stage of the competition.
And Trevor, he gets a good head loop on him, turns his steer back. Healer gets in around the corner, and boy, it slings it in and picks up 2 feet and an 8.6. Just an excellent run.
I don't think there's anything that this guy can't do with the rope. You see the time there, 8.6. He actually loses 0.2 of a second to Casey Jones. That's how close it is, 246.2 to 252. And Herbert Theriault waiting in the wings if these other guys make a mistake. We're moving to tie-down roping when we come back. The Lazy E Arena in Guthrie, Oklahoma, famous for its cowboy competition. Right now, let's go to Jennifer Smith.
This is a true test of that timed event all-around cowboy. 5 different timed events, and all of them may specialize in 1 or 2, but may have a weakness in another, like the steer wrestling or the calf roping. One thing all of these guys are used to dealing with is that infamous barrier. How the cowboys judge that obstacle can make all the difference in first or worst.
Barrier is a way to give the animal a head start. It allows the calf or steer a head start. You know, it depends on what size the arena is, depends on how long the box is, on how much of a head start they get. Usually at a rodeo here, this box here is it's 20 foot deep, and then the animal also gets a 16-foot head start. So basically, he's got to be 16 foot ahead of you before you reach the mouth of the box. And it was put in by cowboys to, it makes it more difficult. You got to be able to be a better horseman and judge the speed of your horse going towards the calf or the steer. And it varies, many rodeos it varies differently, and here it's real long, and it really makes it challenging.
Next up, tie-down roping, and Chance Kelton gets us started.
Boy, when you put a 16, 18-foot score on these calves, boy, they got a good head start on you, and this little calf here is running. Not little, they're big. These calves weighing 275 to 300 pounds, so they're quite a bit bigger than the cowboys. Lays him down on the ground, strings that front leg, pulls the two back legs up, and bobbles that tie a little bit there. You can see it's loose. Now the calf has to stay down for 6 seconds. Once he mounts his horse, rides ahead, the judge with the flagger, he rides in there and counts off the time 6 seconds. If the calf stays down, he gets a time. If he doesn't, it's a no time. Stays down for him, he gets it done.
He does, 16.1 seconds. And here's Cash Myers. You know, these time event cowboys, in terms of the big picture and winning the all-around world championship, Cash Myers, I think, is the guy that could give Trevor Brazil some serious competition.
You talk about big picture, and how about the big guy? He's a big boy, this Cash Myers, 6'3" and 230. Boy, and he gets the groundwork done here with an excellent time. Good tie on that calf. Horse is pulling him away on him, but he doesn't panic, and it's a good cowboy right here.
Watch this big guy motor down the rope. I mean, that's like an NFL linebacker right there.
Boy, and great groundwork here. You can see that strings that front leg in. Good tight tie. Gets him down, and Cash Myers, I'll tell you what, he's a big boy.
Good run, 11-1. He's pretty far back in terms of the overall standings. That's a cowboy to keep your eye on in the future. Tracy Branquino now.
He's the 2001 California Circuit champion in tie-down roping, so this guy's one of the best ropers on the West Coast. And slings a long loop out, falls down, and he's in trouble here. Gets him down, and boy, that's going to cost him a lot of time. He could have been real fast, great groundwork, but big mistake getting off that horse. You take another look at it. This calf is just getting it, boy. When they get all the way down the arena this far, things are going wide open. He steps off and can't keep his footing. Does a good job of getting him down with a little bit of adversity there in a 14.8. That's a respectable time.
I don't know if you get the feeling on television really how big this arena is. I mean, it's a long arena as Daniel Green gets set.
Last year's world champion here at the timed event championship. So he comes in here, the defending champ, and boy, he takes a couple extra swings, wants to make sure he gets a real good shot at this calf. Look at the size of this one here. It's big calves. A little trouble getting that front leg strung, but I'll tell you what, when these calves are this big and strong, if they kick or strain at all, they're going to get that peg and string loose.
14-9 the time, and you know, they have several pins of calves here, and you've kind of touched on it. They've saved the big pin of calves here for this last round.
You bet.
And that's more like a moose that Daniel Green.
Boy, I'll tell you what, got to be big and strong just to get that calf down. See, really good camera work here. You can see these wraps on him right here. Good tight tie. 330.3.
Great horses too. You can see Daniel Green's roping horse working real well for him right there. As we move to Kyle Hughes.
He was the 2000 PRCA Rookie of the Year in tie-down roping, and boy, he's got a good calf. Didn't run too hard. It's down to him here. Now it's all one on the ground. He gets that front leg strung. Boy, does he put the tie on him right here. And we talk about it in golf. You drive for show, and you putt for dough, and in calf rope, and you rope for show, and you tie for dough. And I'll tell you what, Kyle Hughes' groundwork just second to none right there.
In the first 4 rounds, his best time was 11-6. This one, 10-5. They were just getting warmed up in the tie-down roping. More from Guthrie in just a moment. Glad you're with us for OLN's coverage of the Wrangler Timed Event Championship. Jeff Metters along with world champion bull rider Cody Snyder wearing the tie-down roping. That's Jimmy Cooper in the box. Your specialty was bull riding, but how many of these events have you done?
You know, when I think back, I've done all these events except for the steer roping at one time or another. So I'll tell you what, in calf roping, this is the toughest one of them all. This groundwork, you can't believe how many times and how many calves these guys tie down practicing to get them smooth moves down. And boy, Jimmy Cooper, one of the best in the business. He had a good draw here. Now, Trevor Brazil was 11-1 on this calf. They're also 11-3 on him earlier here. Jimmy Cooper wanted to make sure he gets a good loop on him. See him gets him down on the ground here, strings that front leg. You can tie down any 3 legs. See just good tight ties. Bobbles out a little bit there at the end, but he gets a pretty good time, 13 flat.
Lots at stake, $50,000 in terms of the first place money. Everybody's after a fast round time too. That pays $3,000. As you watch Marty Jones get set, lives in Hobbs, New Mexico. Steer tie-down roping is probably his specialty, but here's another good all-around timed event cowboy.
You know, in the calves here this year, for the first time ever, the Lazy Arena let the cowboys put the pens of cattle together themselves into the calf roping. They had Jerome Schneeberger, a Wrangler National finalist, and Herbert Theriault, the world champion. They selected the pen of calves for here, and as we'll see later in the steer wrestling, they had steer wrestlers Steve Duhon, Roy Duvall, and Jimmy Powers select the steers for the steer wrestling. So these cowboys, you know, they tried to get it as even a pen of cattle as they could, and I think they've done a pretty good job. You know, they all look pretty even to me so far.
Here's Herbert Theriault, third in the standings at the moment.
Boy, done it all in the rodeo arena at one time or another. A 12 times Wrangler National Finals qualifier. This big Charolais calf gets him down, and here's where it is. Puts a good tie on him.
World champion at tie-down roping in 1994. He has been so close on several occasions to winning the all-around world championship. And of course, he's not out of the running here, third in the standings at the moment. And if Casey Jones or Trevor Brazil stumble, make a little bit of a mistake, Herbert's going to move right back up into the thick of things. And there is Casey Jones. You know, he's feeling the heat. He's the hunter, not the hunted. Right now, let's go to Jennifer.
Former world champion Herbert Theriault in the calf roping. This is your premier event, so I want you to explain why such long times in the calf roping.
Well, barrier's long and the arena's real long, and calves are running hard, and they're pretty big and strong.
In all the events, they seem to be really running the cattle out there, don't they?
Yeah, it does. I believe it gives you a lot more time to get nervous and mess one up. But it's been fun. There's no other place like this, and it's pretty nerve-wracking, but it's fun.
Now, you lost a second and a half in the calf roping, but you're still holding on to third place.
Yeah, but we still got a good ways to go, and anything can happen. You know, it don't take long to lose a second or two, and then it's easy to gain some back. You just sort of wait on people's mistakes like they've been waiting on mine. So we'll see what happens.
Casey Jones, number 2 right now. You heard Herbert talk about the long score in the long arena. The premium has got to be on the American quarter horse here. He's got to get out of that box quick and give you a chance to throw the rope.
Well, that's the whole deal. It's scoring these cattle right. Got that long barrier. You don't want to break that barrier. That's a 10-second penalty. And Casey Jones gets it on him here. You can see he's got that piggin string a little deep, got it over his left hand on the front leg of that calf. But this guy's a tough cowboy for a guy who just doesn't hit the rodeo trail much anymore, just kind of a weekend cowboy. He very consistent here. You can see he gets that piggin string on. You can see it's across the 2 fingers on his hand there, and it's a little bit loose here. Now he has to take some extra pull, make sure it gets good and tight so that calf stays down.
Yeah, I think if you're Casey Jones and Trevor Brazil, kind of to reiterate, you're roping not to make a mistake at this stage of the game, and it's going to be kind of seesaw back and forth, pick up some seconds here, maybe lose some seconds there, and it's just see how it all shakes out when 5 events are complete. And I love Trevor Brazil's horse.
Boy, that is a good little calf roping horse. You see him set up, and Trevor Brazil gets this great big calf on the ground, and see him pull that piggin string really good and tight, making sure he stays down. Excellent run, boy, and this calf was getting it down near Lady's ears down, and he was running wide open when he got to him.
A big stop from that little horse, too. Just putting Trevor down the rope and in perfect position. And like you said, I mean, just a good, safe run. Tie this calf as tight as you can.
You can see here on the second wrap, pulls it tight, and then on that third one, pulls it a little bit extra tight. This guy is all business. He's tough to beat.
tips his hat, and that calf is not getting loose. So safe runs from Brazil and Jones. They hold their place in the standings. Herbert Terrio just kind of stalking them there, waiting for one of them to make a mistake. More from Guthrie in just moments. Welcome back to the Wrangler Time Event Championships. We've seen these guys on the heading side of the box. Now we'll move to the other side. We'll see how they handle the heels. And there's a guy that won the World Championship in steer wrestling back in 1980. He's kind of ageless, Butch Myers, and that dude is still in great shape.
Boy, he is. He's just as hard as steel. And gets in here around the corner, and boy, it picks up 2 feet. Oh, an excellent run for Butch right here.
His son, Rope Myers, was the 2001 steer wrestling world champion. Cash Myers, we've seen him in the show already. So Rope, Ty, and Cash are his kids, and it's just a cowboy family. That's all it is.
Well, you know what they talk about around the table at Christmas time. I'll tell you, it's all about rope and calves and steer wrestling. And take a look here. This is a legend. Paul Turney slides in around the corner here. Slings it in there, and oh, one leg, and that's a 5-second penalty. That's not what he was needing.
He was the tie-down roping world champion back in 1979. He was the all-around champion in 1980.
Coincidentally, the 4-time, he's won this event 4 times in the past, so he's won a lot of money out of here, in the over $200,000 since he's been coming here in the several years, and has a decent run. If he'd got 2 legs there, he'd have been real quick.
Casey Branquino now just kind of quietly watching his header. Gets a nod, and the action's on.
Now, Guy Allen won the 3rd round on this steer with a 5 and 6, so Casey got a good steer, but slings it in there and misses. Now they're allowed 3 loops, so he's got to rebuild and try to get it on him here. Header pulls him, gets him going, and sticks it on him good here, and comes up with 2 feet.
Yeah, kind of tough luck. 15 and 8 is the time, and this steer at this point just kind of stops and is at a walk. Pretty tough to rope.
Take a look there. His horse just checks up and stops, and that's a tough go there for Casey Branquino.
No day money in his immediate future. Now to Daniel Green. 9 times he has qualified for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. Started out his career roping with his brother Chris, and they haven't roped together now in several years.
Put a good head loop on him and picks up 2 feet there. Get them ropes stretched tight. Good run for Daniel.
Yeah, reigning champion, 7 and 3 for Green.
Kyle Lockett won the 1st round in that steer with a 7-7, so kind of the steer to have.
Now to Steve Duhon. Here's another. He's actually a 3-time steer wrestling world champion. He's pretty good with the rope too. Kind of fiery with that heel loop. Has a little trouble dallying, and finally gets the clock stopped at 10 and 1.
This guy doesn't need to dally. He can just hold on to the rope. Watch how strong
true.
he is. You talk about brute strength. Look at this. Slips off, and he just pulls it tight. Just about got it pulled tight without even dallying up. Boy, he's a big boy right here. A former college football player and just a phenomenal athlete is Steve Duhon.
Pretty good roper too in 5 rounds on heeling. The worst run he's had is 13.1. And there's Kyle Hughes, lives in California, 6'3", 200 pounds.
Hard running steer here. Header got out a little bit late, but gets a good loop on him. Steer just keeps going straight here, doesn't take the turn, and it's in there and picks up 1 heel. Another 5-second penalty.
And really, you know, he's kind of in the thick of things, but this has been the event that's killed him. He's had runs of 24-3, 35-3, 15-5, and 16-3 here. If he'd have taken care of his business a little bit better in the heeling, he probably would have been right there with the leaders. Let's see his average time. Now to Jimmy Cooper. He's won this event on 3 occasions, 1988, 1992, 1994.
Boy, and it's all concentration, Jimmy Cooper. This is just a great cowboy. He takes 2-3 extra swings and gets him caught, boy, and picks up 2 hind heels. And boy, Jimmy Cooper doesn't look like he's aged a day since he won that world championship back in '81. Just stays in great shape. Back on the ranch and walked away from rodeo in the mid-'80s. Still knows how to get it done when he needs to.
Yeah, that run was slick. 6'9". Here's Kyle Lockett.
Last year's runner-up to the world champion in heeling. So Kyle Lockett, boy, did these guys have a fall last year. The summer tour won the championship at Dallas and over $35,000 and almost walked away with the World Championship. And he was the 2001 and the 2002 reserve time event champion here. So Kyle Lockett's done good here in the past.
You can see the concentration there on Herbert Terrio's face. Herbert does not want to make a mistake right here.
Now this steer, they caught 1 foot 3 times on him. He's a tough one to get caught, but Herbert gets it slung in there and gets it done, gets him tight, and a 10-3, excellent run.
You can tell he's pretty focused, kind of a smile of relief when it was all said and done.
Boy, a hard steer to catch. You see how low he keeps his legs to that ground and just moving forward. Herbert gets it pulled up tight, and he's got a good smile on his face. He knew that was a hard steer to get caught.
Yeah, you can see that horse too, kind of power disc brakes. He'd shut it down. Last 2 to go now. Here's Casey Jones.
Boy, you know this guy, he works on that ranch every day, and this is a team rope, and you know, you do this every day on the ranch, and you got to doctor cattle, you got to get out there and get them caught, and it's a turn back, and Casey picks up too. Boy, I'll tell you what, pressure is not affecting this guy at all.
He's been dead consistent in the heeling, a 9.2, an 8.8, a 9.7, a 9.6, and now an 8 flat. Those are his 5 heeling runs here in Guthrie. Puts a little bit of pressure on this guy now. Trevor Brazil cannot afford to stumble. Keep in mind, if you get 3 loops, if you don't catch, 60 seconds is your time.
Just a loper out here. Steer just not going very fast. Header does a good job of getting him caught, turns him back, and Trevor wants to get 2. Oh, and gets him caught. And I'll tell you what, he's just all business here right now, and we're getting down into the meat of this thing and getting down near the end. He's making sure he doesn't make any mistakes, and he doesn't make a mistake here.
Header did a good job there not breaking the barrier, so Trevor Brazil holding on to that lead. Next up for us, steer wrestling, the only event without the rope. More from Guthrie in just a moment. Welcome back to the Wrangler Timed Event Championship. Just 4 seconds separates our leader, Trevor Brazil, from Casey Jones, who's in second place. Just 2 events remaining. We are ready for the steer wrestling now. And here's Casey Branquino. This event really is the one that killed him in the last round. He failed to catch and wound up with 60 seconds.
Boy, but I'll tell you, that could be the steer of the year right there. Does he go down? And now, did he have the draw there? 4-4 and 4-1 on this steer already here. So he knew all he had to do is, if he got his hands on him, he could make a good run and get a real good fast time, and that's just what he did.
Yeah, slam dunk, 4-4, and out of Big Cash Myers.
Boy, when we talk about it here, reaches out and gets him caught, and a big boy, oh man, when he gets a twist on him, they're going down. And Cash Myers, we talk about the U.S. Marines. That guy there, he'd pass for about as big as any Marine there is.
Boy, he would. He was the runner-up to the world champion in steer wrestling last year.
See that, gets that, pushes down that inside horn, gets the nose in. Boy, brute strength. Big steers, these steers here weighing 750 to 800 pounds. So, you know, they're almost 4 times the size of these guys. And that strength really helps. That's where Trevor Brazil, it's going to be all in technique. You know, the contrast in sizes. Trevor just 170 pounds. You know, these guys, Cash 230, and take a look at Kyle Hughes here, and boy, I'll tell you what, does he twist him down good.
Good run for him, 5 at 9. Yeah, he's kind of tall and lanky, 6'3", 200 pounds, but no problems with this steer whatsoever.
Gets down the hole, pushes down on that horn, gets that nose and just reefs on him and gets him over. Excellent run. See him limping out of there though. He had a little bit of a knee injury or an ankle injury here.
Jim Locke getting set. Yeah, this is like a marathon. You got 5 rounds of competition, 25 head, and it's going to take its toll on you after a while.
I'll guarantee it. It's hard on the body. And so get to him here, big strong steer. He's got to get set down in there a little bit. Look at the power the steer's got, and he's just trying everything he can to get him over, and finally gets him down.
10 and 8. He lost his momentum there, and that really cost him. He only weighs about 180 pounds. You can tell. Not quite Steve Duhan size, so he needs to use all the technique he can. Here's B.J. Campbell.
Boy, and a hard running steer, and that horse does a good job getting him in position. And you can see there, the steer has to be flat on his side with all 4 legs stretched out before the judge rides in and drops the flag. And it's a good job on that one.
6 and 4 for B.J. Campbell.
Talking to the guys before the event here, and they said this is probably the most even pen of steers that they've ever had here at the Timed Event Championship. They figured that Duhon and Steve Duhon and Roy Duval and Jimmy Powers did just an excellent job of setting these steers. And boy, this one's big and strong. You just, no room for error here. You can't make any mistakes in it. Gets him over at 11-1. That's not what he was needing.
Kelton by trade really is a header, so steer wrestling not his favorite event. Winds up with an 11-1. And as he makes his way out of the arena, Jason Stewart backs in the box.
Got a good one here. They've been 6-6, 4-6, 5-5, and 9-6 in the 4 previous rounds. So if he can do things right at all here, he could be quick. And boy, and a big, strong steer. It didn't look like it was that fast, but tell you what, 5 flat, that's just a great run. See that Hazer getting steer into position, big and strong. Just trying to do everything right, leans back and pulls him down.
He's had some problems in steer wrestling so far. He had a run 19 flat, 40 seconds flat. Makes up for it a little bit here, though 5 flat as Daniel Green gets set.
Nod for him here, and oh, I don't think he held that horse up. Looked to me like he was a little quick on that barrier, and a big, strong steer. Daniel Green puts a twist on him. You can see that there, disgust on his face, plus 10, 15-5. That's not what he needed.
Now it's a shame. That was a good run. And now let's go to Jennifer Smith, who's with the GM of the Lazy E.
Mr. Myers, I noticed the crowds are packed today. I just want to know, what is the draw for Lazy E to have this event?
I think the key is the competition, Jennifer. Whenever you bring in the best in the world, and the uniqueness of the event is when they have to compete in events that they normally don't compete in. To see a Trevor Brazil Bulldog or a Steve Duhon rope a calf. The other part of it, I think, is the horsemanship. We've been so fortunate to have this over the last 19 years, and you know, by the records, it just shows that this thing gets tougher and tougher every year.
And it's not going to get any easier for guys like Casey Jones and Trevor Brazil. They're steer wrestling when we come back. The crowd here at the Lazy E Arena treated to a little bit of history as Butch Myers announced his official retirement following this event. Of course, he won the Steer Wrestling World Championship in 1980. He reminisced with our Jennifer Smith.
After over 30 years of giving the rodeo world so much joy watching you compete, you're finally announcing your retirement. Is that what I hear?
It's not easy. I don't want to quit, but the age and the time and the boys growing up, it just finally shows up, I guess. I hate quitting because I just really love it. And I really enjoy the boys in it, so I'm going to enjoy them and let them do the roping and bulldogging.
That's what I was going to ask you next. What is it like to raise 2 unbelievable all-around cowboys?
I'm the most blessed man in the world, and knowing that you will have children someday, you'll only grow to know how much I enjoy that.
So well represented by Rope Myers and Cash Myers. Now back to the competition. Herbert Theriault, 4th in the overall standings at the moment.
You know, when we look at the times, when you compare the bulldogging times and the calf roping times, the calf roping times are really long. They've got that 18-foot score in the steer wrestling here. It's just a 10-foot score. They had to shorten it up because these steers would be running so fast by the time that these guys got to him. I don't think they'd ever even get him caught in this long arena. So a lot shorter barrier and pretty quick times. And Herbert with a 7-1 here, he's wanted to be quicker than that, but most importantly, he got him down. That was what he was needing to do.
Best known for his calf roping, but he's made the national finals on a couple of occasions in steer wrestling. Jimmy Cooper now getting set. He's 3rd in the standings.
Oh, and a little bit of trouble here, but Jimmy doesn't panic. You can see where the experience pays off for him. Boy, and a big waspy, hard to get, steer hard to get down on the ground here, but Jimmy twists him over. And tell you what, he did just a heck of a job of getting that steer caught.
He did, 12-2. You're climbing off this American quarter horse at about 30, 35 miles an hour, and you're right, he didn't lose his composure.
Boy, if he'd have panicked at all and let go of that saddle horn, he was gonna fall a little short of him. And you can see here, boy, and Jimmy Cooper, this guy is strong, just keeps a hold of those horns and got him twisted down.
Yeah, keeps his hopes alive with a 12-2. Down to the top 2 cowboys in the standings. First to go is Casey Jones, and he's in a good position here. He's only 4 seconds behind, and you can put some heat on Trevor Brazil with a great run.
Well, he's got a good steer here. Cash Myers was 4.9, the fastest time in round 1 on this steer, but Casey Jones runs him a little too far down the arena. And you can see this is where, like AG said earlier, the Bulldoggers the Cash Myers and guys like that bulldog every day for a living. They're really the cream rose to the top in the bulldog, and they're the guys who are getting them down fast.
Casey Jones kind of avoids what could have been a disaster there, but still not the time he wanted at 11-1. So that's going to lighten the load just a little bit on Trevor Brazil.
Boy, and you think his heart isn't going right now. Trevor, you know, he's a small guy, just 5'11", 170, and it's all on technique and a big, strong steer. But see, Trevor just stays down low, trying to use all the weight of his body. And I'll tell you what, this guy just hustles, digs it down. That's why he's a world all-around champ. I'll tell you. You take another look at this, reaches out at this big steer, just gets down low, pushes down on that inside horn, just using everything that he can, just bearing down, and I'm talking about just goes for it, and it pays off for him right here.
Every ounce of that 170 pounds going into that steer's nose. He gets him down 7.4. Keep in mind, he won this back in 1998. He's back in that position again. He's with Jennifer.
Trevor said earlier that the steer wrestling was the one event that he does not practice 365 days out of the year. What did you do to get ready for that?
Well, I threw a lot of steers on the ground, and I talked myself into not jumping any before we came this year. Usually I try to jump one or two just to knock the edge off before we come here, but this year with the injuries I had last year, I just went ahead and just we winged it here. So it went good, and it's an event I love to do, but I'm just not built for it. So this event's great for me because, you know, it lets me do some of the stuff you don't have to be a professional at.
That's pretty amazing. Didn't even practice for it. The final event when we come back. Welcome back to the Lazy E Arena, Guthrie, Oklahoma. Trevor Brazil in the lead of the Wrangler Timed Event Championship. Jeff Metters along with world champion bull rider Cody Snyder and Jennifer Smith. And here's a guy that they call the legend, Guy Allen. 16 steer roping world championships, including a string of 11 in a row. That streak came to an end last year.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, this guy holds every record in this event. He's the fastest time in the history. He was 7.9 seconds. If you can imagine getting a 800-pound steer down on the ground, getting to him and tying him up in 7.9 seconds. That is just unbelievable how fast and how good this guy is. And see him limping back there in the 5 rounds of 5 events of the timed event championship here, taking their toll on the veteran Guy Allen.
Oddly enough, 16 world championships in this event, and this has been the event that actually has given him the most trouble. He's missed on 2 occasions, and that actually comes out to about 2 minutes in penalties for Guy Allen. Not the best of runs here either, 19-4. All right, the defending champion now, Daniel Green, the last event in the final round.
Well, you know, this event here, this is an event that is used in everyday ranch work. You know, you're out in the pasture and you got a steer that's got foot rot or pink eye or something like that, and you're by yourself. You got to get him down and get him treated. And so these guys, they do this out in the ranch work and try to bring it into the arena and perfect it here, and a 17.6 is not the run that he was looking for.
And that pretty much ends the hopes of Daniel Green of repeating as the Wrangler timed event champion. And he'll set his sights on next year. And of course, you also have the PRCA Pro Rodeo winner and summer tour and the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo ahead for him this year.
That #1 there, that'll be dropped down a few notches. And I think myself, it's all in Trevor Brazil's hands. Now, Trevor's the runner-up to the world champion in steer open last year. So, you know, when you compare him and Casey Jones, this is where it's going to pay off for Trevor. But take a look here, get that loop on him and get him down, horse angling off here to the left and get down to him. You can hear them guys hollering at him, hustle, hustle. He's got to get him tied quick.
Clock ticking for Kyle Hughes.
All kinds of problems getting him tied there, and you can see by the look on his face, but it's almost a sigh of relief. That's been a long weekend.
So 20-8 the time for Hughes. Did his college rodeo down in Vernon, Texas. 6'3", 200 pounds, and that wraps up his event here at the Wrangler Timed Event Championships. As Jimmy Cooper gets set now, you can tell the concentration. A little bit of pregame there for Cooper, and he nods his head.
It's out a little late here. Horse kind of stood up in the corner of that chute, and this steer, he's got a hard run and steer chase him a long ways down this arena here.
That horse hustling pretty well, working hard, and Cooper gets to the ground.
Boy, and some good work right here. Jimmy Cooper hustling as always. Gets a tie on him, but ran him way too far down that arena to get a very good time.
And 18-8 when it's all said and done. Cooper's one of those guys kind of fighting for Herbert Theriault. I mean, for the moment, it just appears that they're wrestling back and forth for 3rd and 4th place.
You know, when you took a look at the breakdown of the money, you know, it's $50,000 for first, $25,000 for second, then down to 15 and 10. So these guys that are coming in here 4th and 5th place, you know, it's a $5,000 jumper. You can lose $5,000 by making a bad run, and you can see Cash Myers gets it stuck on him here, and he's going to be fast, boy, and he's hustling. Keep moving. Boy, and a 1 ramp, and I'll tell you, he gambles, hoping this steer stays down, and a 9.7. What just an excellent run by Cash Myers.
Man, good steer, didn't waste, and we've been seeing runs like 19-4, 15-7, and he gets the job done. 9.7, just 0.2 of a second off the arena record, which is held by Guy Allen. And now to Herbert Theriault. We talked about Cooper, Theriault going back and forth after 3rd and 4th place, so Herbert may be feeling a little bit of the pressure here.
You can see him safety here, and boy, it doesn't work for him. He took a couple extra swings waiting for that perfect spot and missed him, and then he gets him caught here now. Herbert having all kinds of problems.
Having to 2-loop this steer, and he's not able to get him down, so the clock is ticking for Herbert Theriault, and this is really going to hurt him in that battle with Cooper. Loses the hat, finally gets him on the ground, and now Herbert's just got to tie this steer absolutely as fast as he can.
Boy, and that is costly for him, and you can tell, look at the look on his face. He is not happy with that, but take another look here. You see, he just takes a couple of extra safety swings trying to get that perfect spot and slings it and just misses that inside horn or outside horn, and boy, that's just bad throw, and it turns into a real bad time, but smile on his face, he's happy that it's over.
That is not a typical Herbert Theriault kind of loop right there, and so 2 guys remaining, the top 2 in the standings. Casey Jones knows what he has to do, and as you mentioned, Brazil probably has the edge in this event, so Casey needs to be aggressive.
See the steer angling to the left, he gets that loop on him. Now they've been 17-6 and 16-6 on this steer, so doesn't take the trip, and Casey got to reload here, and boy, it's slipping away now. What he wants to be careful of is not to just totally mess this thing up and drop from 2nd down to 3rd and let Herbert slide in there and end up in 2nd place and get that $25,000 check. And I'll tell you, you got 7 kids sitting at home, you're going to head back to the ranch. That $25,000 comes in handy. Boy,
7
gets a
kids,
tie on him.
5 daughters, Destiny, Cheyenne, Kayla, Cassidy, and Calamity. 2 sons, Rowdy and Caden, and you can bet they're rooting right along there with Dad, but he winds up 34-8, and that is really going to lighten the load now on Trevor Brazil.
This thing's all in Trevor's hands here now, and he knows it all. He's got to do just get him caught and get him down, and he has not got the best steer in the pen. They were 20-4 on him, and they're also no time for a 60-second penalty, so slow running steer, and Trevor does a good job of getting it on him here.
That's half the battle right there.
Boy, and you know, this guy is just a great horseman. You know, he's owns the tie-down roping horse of the year, and he's a great horseman and also just a great cowboy, and he knows it. That's your champ right there, boy. Just all business, Trevor Brazil.
And you are looking at really the rising franchise player in the PRCA. Trevor Brazil just adding to that resume. 2nd time that he has won the Wrangler Timed Event Championship. And of course, the reigning all-around world champion, a tip of the hat. We'll be back to talk with Trevor and kind of relive his 2003 edition of the Wrangler Timed Event Championships after this. OLN's presentation of the Wrangler Timed Event Championship from the Lazy E in Guthrie, Oklahoma is brought to you by Wrangler, for the cowboy and you, the only jeans and shirts endorsed by the PRCA. By the United States Marine Corps, the change is forever. By Coors Original, cowboy up with Coors Original and Coors Light. And by Polaris Ranger, hardest working, smoothest riding utility vehicle you can buy. Trevor and Shadow Brazil enjoying Trevor's work over the last 5 rounds as he wins his 2nd Wrangler Timed Event Championship. And let's take a look at the final standings. Trevor on top, Jones second. Herbert Terrio with the trouble in steer roping falls from 3rd to 5th. Here's Jennifer.
To be such a close competition, was that just a relief for you to know that all you had to do was just safety up?
Oh, definitely. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, it's a long day, but when it comes down to it, the last event's the steer open, which is one of the most comfortable events for me. And so it takes a little bit of the edge off. And then, you know, being the last roper, knowing that I just had to go catch, it was a big relief.
In every other rodeo, you compete in maybe 2 events. In this one, you compete event after event after event. Talk about the toll it takes on your body and your mind.
We were counting my bruises this morning. We're pretty sore, but with $66,000 in our pockets, it's going to soothe the pain a little.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Counting the bruises, the counting is money, $66,000. And there's Casey Jones, the runner-up, getting his check for $25,000. Let's take a look at the final payoffs there. Trevor making the most, $66,000. But the guys that finished in the top 5, it was worth their while. They all made great money.
Well, it was close to the very end, and Casey Jones hung right in there. You'd expect that. He's a 4-time winner of this event. Plus, he's got 7 kids to feed, so you knew he'd be motivated. But in the end, it was the youth and Trevor Brazil.
Well, yeah, Trevor Brazil, the ultimate cowboy, comes in here with an injury, but he puts all that behind himself, wins a $50,000 first place check. That, and with the bonuses, over $66,000. It's a big payday for the World All-Around Champ.
Our next stop on the PRCA Pro Rodeo Winter Tour is Rodeo Houston. Join us on Sunday, March 30th at 7 Eastern Time. For more on the PRCA Pro Rodeo Winter Tours, our TV schedule, Extreme Bulls, and more, go to ProRodeo.com. For Jennifer Smith and Cody Snyder, I'm Jeff Metters. So long from Guthrie, Oklahoma.